But here we have Serge Grandbois, and Serge has been many times with us, honors us time after time with immense wisdom. And I think as I scan the group, everybody has experienced Serge before.
I think you're speaking about somebody else. Immense wisdom.
Immense wisdom. Yeah, 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 yeah.
I think Kris was
Or
being mentioned there.
Yeah.
well. Uh, Kris certainly would be infinite wisdom. Okay. But I am going to remind Senor Serge that his wisdom at any point in time is very extensive. And it is.
Yeah, I'm
But
thinking
with
that
that,
probably some of that is rubbed off on him.
oh yeah, of course. Not only that,
You'd think.
if he gets a little too out of line, he will get a call very quickly.
And this is the his anniversary session. He started November 7th, by the way.
Oh
So
my God, there
we'll
we
call
are.
that how quickly the year
Yeah,
went by.
we're celebrating a few days early,
Already?
but yeah, yeah.
1 year?
I know. When
Wow.
you're outside of linear time, it just doesn't take long at all, Serge.
I think linear time better catch up.
That's right. I think we jumped something or the other.
Yep.
But with that, we have Serge in the house, and it is all yours. As always, we love you. Please.
Thank you very much. And it's a very nice honor to be sharing Kris with you guys. Some people I know, some are new, and everyone is family.
We thank you for that.
So let me get the old guy on the show. Now we trust that you are comfortable,
We are, thank you.
and we thank you for your consideration.
Thank you, Kris.
Now, we believe there are already some questions queued up, and sometimes we may feel like providing a nice little sermon, if you like. But in this case, we will skip that part and go right to your questions. Please feel free to begin.
Patrick, please.
Okay. Hello, family. Hello, friend.
Indeed.
I'm happy tonight that you're here because I need a different perspective for your point of view. I need some help with something happened to me 2 weeks ago, and I know that life I have no accident to whatever happened. Um, I used to do a lot of channeling, and that was part of my life for a long time. And 2 weeks ago, I was fixing a machine in my garage, and I forgot that was the story. I forgot to unplug the machine, and I had that electric shock, like for 10, 20 seconds, like more than 110. It really, really boosts me up. I kind of blew up, and I was like, oh my God, my heart just like, oh. And the interesting part is the next day I wake up and I totally lost the ability to the channeling I have. Totally, totally. And I said, okay, it has to be for a reason. I don't know what it is. But it was kind of weird. I totally like turned the switch off. Boom. And after a few days, I was presenting a workshop about the human-like body. And in the workshop, some lady have a kind of challenge with this belief to go to the process. And when I get close to her, something happened for the first time. I saw his DNA. His DNA start to talk to me. I saw the shape, I saw the form, and the DNA showed me where I can do something for her and where I was not able to do anything, but if to be in service. But I was like, my God, the DNA is right in front of me, tell me what I can do. And I did exactly what the DNA told me, and she kind of let go that belief. And she looked like a little child after that. And this has happened more and more and more. And I don't have to do too much. It's just happened if I'm able to do something for those people. I guess this is a new direction that the electric shock pushed me in that way, you see. But I just want to have a different point of view for that, because this is, I need to get used to that.
You could say, in the common vernacular, it learned you to unplug machines. Now, it is highly likely that this particular ability of yours was always just beneath the surface. And because you were so accustomed to the traditional forms of channeling, you didn't pay that much attention to the underlying currents, the other currents that were still present in your consciousness. So your own higher self might have triggered this kind of an event to bring you in alignment with another purpose, with another quality. Do you follow?
Yeah, that's what I feel. It's like the old whatever me. It's like
Now that may return, and if it does, and when it does, it may be slightly different as well than what you were accustomed to. But for the time being, embrace what you have, because it is a little bit different than most people's intuitive abilities. So you are tapping into a particular kind of psychology of the individual you are able to assist. And this is a deep inner psychology represented in the form of their DNA as a means for you to provide assistance. Does that still make sense to you?
it is makes sense. And the interesting part is when whatever happened, I'm not saying every person will show me that DNA, but some. And maybe it will go further than that, but it's just like
Indeed.
it's the feeling of not judging them, to see them, they are already perfect, but I can do something to help them on their path, you know? This is something new. It's totally new. I need to get
Indeed, it
really
is
used to
new.
it.
And only an individual who is able to give up that which caused the particular beliefs and behavior in the first place will allow you to see. So it is like a two-way street. And again, just to bring the point home, you are able to picture in your mind's eye the particular patterns of energy that they have formed in the realm of their DNA, which is entirely psychological. You may think that DNA is physically based. There is a physical version, but there is a deeper form of DNA at the psychological level. It exists on a completely other platform, as all beings also exist on another platform, as well as being physically projected in their human counterpart or in their human character. It doesn't invalidate who they are, but it brings another snapshot of the reality to the table. So you have the physical reality, which is just a slice of something much bigger. What you are tapping into is the bigger reality of the individual.
This is why they have such a, I don't know, it's hard not to fall in love with the person. You know, it's just like
It
it's
is very common to have that particular sensation or feeling of falling in love with individuals you have never met before, you will never see again. But for that moment, you are completely encapsulated in that experience. And the only thing that does exist is love.
so true. So true. Okay, but thank you very much for that. I
And
just
be on the lookout for little trailers, if you like, extra little things that may come to you as you go throughout your days and weeks.
Okay. Okay. Yeah, I'm waiting for that, and I allow it first to be like that. It's just
It
like
is like eating cookies on the couch, and when you get up, you realize there are all these crumbs that you could also eat if you wanted to.
so true. Thank you so much.
Indeed.
Christiana?
Thank you. Hello, Kris. Lovely to have you with us.
Indeed.
And for the record, also, we do love your sermons, but very sweet of you to jump into the questions. Speaking of bigger realities, I wanted to talk about dreams for a bit, because we are pretty much advised by everyone to pay attention to our dreams and record them and all this. Is Serge okay?
Indeed.
Yes, and I remember several dreams recently, and I don't understand their meaning. I dream of places and people I don't know, or other things I don't understand. And I wanted to ask your perspective of what is the point of recording our dreams when we don't understand them in the slightest?
So this may require far more time than we are allotted to explain all of that. But suffice it to say that dream reality, dream time itself, is actually your home. This is the deeper inner or psychological space within which you have your being. In that space, you dream yourself as a human being. That human being, then, when you, for instance, when you fall asleep, you connect with your multidimensional self. You reconnect every night. It's like recharging. Every night you charge your phone. You recharge yourselves by falling asleep and allowing dream time and rapid eye movement and other situations to recharge your entire being. Not all dream experiences, not all dream realities are meant to be immediately understood in logical, linear, rational terms. And that is often the mistake. Dreams by nature are to a very high degree, perhaps 85 to 95%, all intuitive. So it requires of you to up the ante in your intuitiveness. And even if you don't understand a dream in particular terms, allow the dream, because you can ask your dream self, look I had this dream, I don't fully understand it. Can you please provide other dreams that bring an explanation? You use the dreams themselves. It requires a little bit of finesse, a little bit of playing with the idea, and specifically if there is in the individual the idea that dreams are meaningless and useless, then it will be doubly difficult to come to an understanding of the imagery that is shown, because sometimes the imagery is multi-layered. You are a multi-dimensional being, so you may have multiple dreams all at once, and your lovely conscious mind is trying to make sense of it, sometimes with terrible editing. Just like in the editing room floor when they make movies, they cut out a lot of parts. Does that make some sense to you?
Yes.
So it requires patience, and especially a new set of beliefs concerning dreams, that dreams are meaningful. And even if I don't understand them right away, I will write it out. And perhaps in a day or two or a week, I will revisit that written dream, and I may get some surprising insights. And with this kind of methodology, you can also make certain that you put the date of the dream. And if you have, let's say, 3 dreams that night, put the date and dream 1, dream 2, dream 3. When you revisit, perhaps months later, you may be shocked to see that you had a dream about this thing happening 3 months ago. And lo and behold, you suddenly realize that parts of the dream have come about because many of the dreams are intuitive and predictive. So it requires a certain amount of effort and conviction that the dreams are meaningful. Does that all make sense to you? And that is a dream course right off in 2 seconds.
That was wonderful information, and it does make sense. And I do see them as valuable. I just don't understand them. But I will follow your advice.
Indeed. We can give you a simple example. Back in 1984, a Sunday, Joseph had a dream. He wrote it down. And he was very curious because in the dream, he was in a little room looking out a window, and in the distance he could see a lake. Fast forward to February 2000, Joseph rented a room in a big apartment, and as he was unpacking his things, because there was a built-in bookshelf on the wall, there was the dream book. And he took it and he said, "What is this book doing here? I don't keep it together." So he opened the book to that particular dream we just described. And lo and behold, he read the dream and looked out the window at a lake. Consider the distance in linear time, 1984, 2000. This is how interesting dreams can be.
In which case, I really hope I experience this fabulous train station I saw. But what about that dream where one of my cats was like heavily injured? That wasn't a very pleasant dream.
We can understand. And sometimes, because of dreams of that nature, people say dreams are terrible. I don't want to remember those kinds of dreams, but they may also teach something else. So as to the nature of that particular dream, you would have to look at your own attitudes and expectations, because we do believe that there is often a certain kind of fear on your part that something may befall your cat. So whatever it is that is going on there, just keep it in mind, write it out, and then, if you like, put it away. And perhaps months from there, go back to it. And you might see something very different. And we can share another little thing with you. Even though you wake up, it might seem as if the dream has stopped. But it has not. Your involvement in the dream stopped, but the dream may continue because it is its own reality. So the dream may have continued and you do not have conscious awareness of that.
Yes, thank you very much for the information. It was very helpful.
Indeed.
Ray,
Our
please.
pleasure.
Ray.
And that is an absolutely lovely synchronicity for me because I had a dream and Christina Anna was in it last night. And we were exploring realities from a time coordinate and then going to different realities from that time perspective to see how they would change. And they were all Earth-related realities. And so that got me thinking that can you do that from a place coordinate in our reality as well and see it through all dimensions of time that you choose to experience? I know there are no limits, but I'm curious if you have more information to say about that type of guidance for exploration, please.
That is a very interesting inquiry. And we would have to say that, of course, there are limitless possibilities here. The only limitation is your own peculiar focus in physical reality. There might be other areas and other realities that you simply would not have access to. And that is just the way it is for your species. Now, at other layers of your own persona, you do have access to it, but you may not necessarily be able to recall it. But dream realities, or entering a particular reality which actually doesn't even require you to sleep, but just in a deep meditative state, you can, let's just say, invoke that particular sensation of falling asleep, which would then lead you to a very particular kind of out-of-body experience, not necessarily your standard out-of-body experience, but a derivation of it, wherein you and your mind, up to a point, can travel into other realities and or dimensions and observe things from a particular point of view, even observing yourself as your own body shifts through different types of realities. Because you do. The atoms and molecules, for lack of better words, are not as stable as you think. In fact, as we suggested before, all of what you see doesn't exist at another layer. It is just empty space. It is rearranged in order for your senses to make a particular kind of observation. So yes, you can learn to play with those particular kinds of coordinates and allow yourself to, shall we say, slip in and out of various states. And that is just the beginning.
Exciting.
So for instance, you are cooking dinner. How many yous in this moment are also cooking dinner? In what kind of time frame and or reality?
All the hungry ones.
Most definitely. So this is just a little idea to pique your curiosity.
Excellent. And I have another question. Um, and I did an open invitation channeling where I just invited any beneficial being to come in. And there was quite a parade, and several of the people here were involved in that. But the Usal, who I also channel, really perks my interest because they allowed their higher self to come in to see what all the excitement was about on a more direct fashion. And I was wondering if you could relay any more information about that. And they just said, why don't you ask me? So,
The interrelated interconnectedness, which you might be able to understand as a form of psychic quantum entanglement, basically states that everything perceivable and not perceivable in physical and non-physical universes is connected one thing to the other. It just changes appearance from one dimension to another in order to better fit into the camouflage of that particular, say, part of reality. There are some realities where you, for instance, would just not be perceived. And there are others where you could not perceive anything because you don't have the camouflage deciphering apparatus that would allow that. But all things are entangled in that way. They are all connected. So you do have the ability in some ways to move beyond your own limitations. And you sense that when you open yourself up, you do have that sensation that regardless of appearances, everything is part of a great oneness. And we don't necessarily like to use that term because it may appear too New Age-ish, but there is a certain kind of great oneness that permeates everything.
Thank you. And it was nice that you said that, because one of the beings that came in could not sense anything in our reality. They could sense there were energies there, but they could not get any detail or any sense or have any explanation of them, and they were not satisfied. That was just an exploration. They said, well, now we know that this isn't for us. And then they left. So
Indeed.
thank you for that.
And the same can happen in reverse. In many of your own dream adventures, you might end up in areas of consciousness or territory where you sense something, but you just don't have the means to decipher it. So for you, it would not have any beholdings. And at the same time, other beings may visit yours and find it fascinating that they can sense something but cannot pinpoint, and therefore just move on. And there are other beings who are completely impervious to your particular plane of existence. For them, nothing exists here.
That's incredible. Thank you for that detailed share. Appreciate it.
Indeed.
So, Kris, simple question about dreams. I have had a sequence of dreams in the recent few months in which the person that I happen to live with or know is observing right on my shoulder, above my shoulder. I could just go like that, and I could see the size silhouette. They don't look physically like they are in real life, but they're experiencing the dream with me. What can you tell me about that?
Well, we would say that that being or those beings are also part of your own psychological and psychic makeup. There are different versions of you experiencing time and space, but from a different point of view. So you are able to sense as they are able to sense, but the two of you have certain differences in perspectives. And you might not see and experience the same thing, but you have a certain interlaced connection as it is overlapping. So you may feel a certain closeness, at the same time a certain, not necessarily alienation, but a separateness. There's a closeness and separateness at the same time. And from our perspective, the way things are perceived actually makes sense at another layer, at another plane of existence altogether. Because you, though you have had so many years of experience in this plane of existence, may still feel that there is a part of you that recognizes this is not your primary reality. Does that make any sense to you?
It makes a lot of sense. Both the familiarity.
As if somehow or other you are both of this world and not of this world. And you can sense that tangibly.
I can sense it tangibly too in what we're going to call the reality of ordinary life. My interactions show me that we're connected in many ways, in many dimensions.
Yes.
But what is interesting to me is the regularity in which I have these experiences where that being is right there with me, observing, and we are aware of each other. Okay, it's not like, it's an observation that is casual.
Indeed. And that particular being is also part of you. So that being has been with you in other places as well.
Yeah,
it is like a companion.
But like you said, there's a certain separateness. So it's not identically me. It's not, for lack of a better expression, basically. But I appreciate
Perhaps on another note, you might not necessarily want another identical you.
No, I don't. I don't need it. And in real life, there's significant differences that remind me of that. Thank you, Kris.
Indeed.
Christiana.
Hello again.
Indeed.
Since we're still on this wonderful subject of dreams, I would like to mention another one that I had, which involved a very big portal that connected my place and Ray's. And I assume there is a connection also to his dreams. So I was wondering if you could mention anything at all on the work that we're doing on other realms.
So you and Ray actually share a certain form of ideal about what your own experience of the world is like, and in certain specifics, both of you have a deep fondness for the earth plane because you have shared both together and separate experiences wherein you worked at a form of mystical school in different places, one of which is perhaps an underground movement in the Byzantine Empire, where the mages, the ones that are searching for a higher truth, would gather and have discussions. Now, your discussions would have had to be centered around the ideals of the time, but still you were both very much interested in discovering what kind of truths are there that are not talked about. So what kind of truths are suppressed by the ruling classes? And this put you both in hot water. You, on a few occasions, had to more or less disappear, go into hiding, so that you could continue your exploration. You had a kind of secret society where you worked with codes and means by which you could communicate, always making certain that you were always one step ahead of the religious hierarchies. Does that make some sense to you?
Oh, yes, it sounds very much like me. And no wonder I feel so well in the underground, both literally and metaphorically.
In fact, during those times, many people whom today are discovering each other in this particular area participated in these underground societies all over the European world, because many people knew that the proverbial church would have gladly burnt you at the stake, simply to show that they are the ones in control. So you found ways to skirt the authorities, but you always had to be one step ahead. So you were, in a way, quite rebellious.
Excellent.
So being a black sheep is not new to you, no, Ray.
That is wonderful insight. Thank you so much for sharing.
Indeed.
Heidi, please.
I don't want to interrupt this conversation about dreams.
Oh, please, go ahead.
So my question is about the Atlas comet. Is there any connection to or importance with water with this comet?
How do you mean?
I was just thinking about how water travels through the universe and how it and although the comet may not be specifically frozen ice, it might be another element that is part of water and come in contact with elements that will create water when it arrives. I don't know. I'm just been thinking through all of this, and I'm just wondering if there's any importance.
So what you are basically asking is, what importance does this symbol have for me? More than what it has for the world or the earth and so on and so forth. The interest that so many people have, as if somehow or other it's a spaceship, it has aliens or this and that and the other thing. Ultimately, it will lead to further questions, necessary questions about the nature of the physical universe as you think you know it. And just as you discover that there are more things in your mind than you ever knew possible, so will you discover there are more things in the universe than you ever thought possible. And there is a correlation between the two, because the so-called space also is a representation of inner space, of your inner psychology. Just as there are planets that are all water, planets that are all alcohol, planets that are all precious gems. So, little by little, your species is discovering that your understanding of the cosmos is very, very tiny compared to what it is. But that is one very, very good thing, because introspection in this way allows you to introspect internally. Does that make sense so far?
Yes, it does.
And as to the significance of water, psychologically speaking, water is the element of life. Without water, you do not have any life that you know of anyways. For species like yourselves. So this particular comet is bringing home, you could say, triggering many messages about the nature of the cosmos and your reality. And as we mentioned, there is speculation that it is a spaceship. There is speculation that it may signal an upcoming revelation and so many other things, but we do not believe that will factor in, except revelation that there is so much more to your universe, and perhaps a more up-close analysis of its chemical trail might open your scientist's eyes. Does that make sense at all to you?
Yeah, I know that I was trying to find the source of the information that I had found about the composition because they said it was unusual. But I was trying to find if the information I found was from a reputable source online because it
It
was
has a little bit of unusual chemical compositions simply because it comes from far and deep within your cosmos, and it has traveled for millions of light years. So it has gone through different other solid particles and has collected them. So they are part of its composition. So
and would that
imagine, just as your screen behind you reflects the aurora borealis, imagine a comet traveling through that and picking up particles of energy and incorporating it into its own composition and bringing that to another system.
that makes sense.
Now, might you have another pondering?
Well, I'm wondering what chemical or what elements cause the like it would pick up in that case, and are so on the other side of that, what it has picked up on its way, would we have a way to
It might affect the lenses that pick up chemical analysis differently. It might show up as a combination of chemicals not quite seen before. A new chemical soup, if you like, arranged differently.
Yes, because so far they are only mentioning the ones that we know about, such as carbon dioxide, the absence of iron, which they say is unexpected.
It is a little unexpected, but not unusual. Now then, may we take another inquiry?
I was just about to say I don't know what else to ask on it.
Indeed.
I'm puzzled.
And perhaps Lewis knows who next can
Ray,
ask.
please. Thank you, Heidi.
I have a rather quick question, which may not correspond with the answer, but all consciousness has some type of form, in my experience. Does source have a form, or does it depend on the other expressions of it to define its form?
Interesting question. First of all, you would have to define form.
Or not?
Indeed. So what makes form? First of all, has to have consciousness. Form cannot exist, but form is not necessarily what you think of it. You see with your eyes a particular spectrum of energy as represented by that particular consciousness. That may not be its only presentation.
Mhm.
And it may have multiple forms depending on the point of view and the observer and the observed. So essence basically has an energy form that can be perceived, but not with physical apparatus. You could say that feeling is another perceptive mechanism, but not the kind of feeling where I feel heat and I feel cold. This is a different kind of experience, a total psychological state. Just like you may go into a new neighborhood today, and you have a sense that the atmosphere in that neighborhood is warm and welcoming, friendly, or inimical, and you want to get the hell out of there. That is not logical, but it is still real. Do you follow?
Yes, and I wasn't really looking for form from a physicalized point of view. I was looking at it from a more grander perspective because I know all form has consciousness because it cannot exist without it.
Indeed. So, for instance, a particular essence may decide to display a unique form as an entire solar system,
But
or
there,
an entire civilization, or a string of galaxies.
so
In
it,
fact, that is how it is done.
I like that. And so all consciousness has a form, even if no one can discern what it is.
Yes. So it would be a formless form in your terms.
A form of formless.
Yes.
Thank you.
The entity formerly known as form.
Thank you, Ray. So
And now you know
please.
where your invisible man comes from.
Hi, Kris. Thank you so much
Indeed.
for taking question. I was going to ask a question about Michelangelo, but I changed it when I heard about Ray and Christine, Anna being in an ancient mystical school together. I know that I've had previous lives in ancient mystical schools and held on to that knowledge. In this lifetime, I'm having some I want to ask this. I'm asking this in a way because I know it affects lots of people, not just me. But in this lifetime, I know I have like a fear of being seen, which probably goes back to, I imagine, lifetimes as a witch and stuff, where I did hold on to knowledge that was dangerous. Now I know the knowledge that I have is not dangerous and is really a great thing, and I want to share it, but I still have that fear. And I know a lot of us do. Do you have any advice for us, Kris, to open up?
Your question indeed does affect many more people than you can shake a broomstick at. And it isn't necessarily an easily answered question. But yes, so many have been in the past persecuted simply because they refuse to think the status quo. Thousands of women, for instance, were burnt at the stake simply because, not because they were witches, but because they did not want to bend the knee to a male authority as the Pope. It's funny that a man in a robe would want to burn women in robes. Now, as you move from life to life, because all the lives exist simultaneously, your particular approach, that even though you have a sense of this fear, there is also a communication, especially with the internet and technology today. You can communicate through great distances with people you would never have been able to meet otherwise, except in dream states. So your internet technology sort of resembles the possibilities that exist in dream states or dream time. In that way, you alleviate the fear of that exists in the past. So you give your other selves a little more hope and courage that perhaps they can communicate. And even though so many were considered witches and burnt, they, to the very last breath, still refuse to bow, which indicates a very, very strong willingness to hold on to their last breath as their own and not give it. Do you understand? So that should also give you a certain extra courage. And even though the fear is there, you can alleviate some of it fairly nicely. There are, just behind your ear, you have those two bony bumps, right behind the ear. And you can tap on those, just addressing that particular fear and giving yourself the courage to ease the fear. And as you do it from one to the other, you tap into a certain form of binaural beats, which more or less neutralizes the fear. Does that make sense to you?
So much, so much. It's really I'm beginning to understand that everything is happening at one time, and we're just all looking at one thing from all different millions of angles. So
Correct.
it really makes me excited to know I can support those previous lives. I know I have loads of previous lives, Atlantis, all kinds of places, and now I know that I
There
can
are
support them
also
and bring
future
them up.
lives.
I'm
There are
sorry,
also
Stephen?
future lives.
Yes, future lives as well. Yeah, out there. I know. I know. I
And you
have
would be
training to be first contact specialist right
surprised,
now.
indeed,
Yeah.
and you would be surprised to understand that very often it is future life that influences a past life more than a past life influences your present moment.
Well, that's wonderful. Thank you so much. Really, really, thank you. Thank you.
Indeed, learn to play with the concepts of time because you are not linear beings. You play the game, but it is not the real game. This is not Hunger Games, by the way.
Thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you.
Indeed.
Kris, we have probably 2 more questions. Are you okay with that?
Only two.
Well, there's probably 30, but, 2 people that are stepping forward.
Indeed.
Okay. So, Ray, please.
I thought you were going to go next. See how you are? I have a question about orbs. I know that they're used for transportation, we will say, in our realm by various beings, but do certain beings have certain types of orbs, like colors or shapes or manifestations? And I know it can be one consciousness or it can be 100 consciousness in an orb. But I find that subject fascinating and my education on it lacking, so I'm reaching out to the expert for you to help me, Kris. Thank you.
Allow us to use this metaphor or analogy. So all nations on your planet use transportation of one type or another to transport goods or people. You use ocean going boats, large transport vehicles to transfer goods from one nation to another. You use planes, you use trains, you use cars, you use trucks. They come in all manner of shapes and sizes, but the main function is to transport something or someone from one place to another. In a similar manner, orbs are a form of transportation and sometimes even just communication. In the same way, because your internet technology is also used for transportation, but this time it is data. So orbs are another form of transportation through another medium altogether. We hesitate to use the word, but let's just say that the ethers, a particular opening within the context of time-space that allows an item to go through a portal, like an orb to go through a portal and be directed elsewhere. Sometimes it goes right through your system to another destination. You just happen to be at the right time and place to notice one. And it may not be destined for you at all, or it may, but usually it goes right through your system to another destination. So they are very, very nice and almost costless, if you like, energy system. They don't use any energy that you know of. Eventually, your own scientists may discover this and use it to transport data. It is almost there when you have quantum field computers able to displace an item from one area to another. It all not quite. You will have to perfect your mechanisms because that information is often shared in deep dream states to those whose minds are open to that. Does that make sense to you?
Yes, it's very fascinating. Thank you so much for expanding my knowledge on that. I'm very grateful. Thank you.
Kris, you spoke earlier about the DNA and nature of reality going all the way to holographic. The DNA is closely associated with geometric structures, and therefore it ties very quickly in its multidimensional aspects with all kinds of very hyperdimensional geometrical intricate structures. One could look at it that way, I think, but the question really has to do with how much of that do I need to be in the awareness in order to truly exploit DNA from this point that I'm located in this awareness of this physical body.
Let's put it to you this way. When you want to build a house, first you have to sketch the design. You most likely go to an architect, correct?
Yes.
Now, that design then becomes the blueprint on which the house will be built to certain specifications and measurements in a specific location. Your DNA is very much your blueprint, and on that you build your physical form. In other words, you are energy that manages the projection that you call your body. Louise is not what anybody sees, not even yourself. You are different. So is Ray, so is everyone. Indeed. So you use the blueprint that is available within the DNA, which is passed down from generation to generation, to build a form which you call you, but that is not you. It is your body. You are very different from it. You are even very different from your DNA. It is just the blueprint. Does that make sense to you?
It makes sense. And multidimensionally will be the same thing. You know, I have a strand of DNA that takes me into other dimensionality with a blueprint for that dimension.
Indeed.
Okay.
In some other dimensions, you might not even recognize yourself.
Sure.
But that is half the fun.
Yeah, that's half the fun. Question
Indeed.
that creeps has to do with the idea that we humans have to manifest or bring something into our reality. And spending a lot of time from wishing to actually creating that so-called wish fulfill environment. Is it?
And your question is?
My question has to do with the identity that we need to shed in order to really bring about that change, because anything wished for, no matter how good we do it, based upon an identity that is based on belief systems that do not support that.
Indeed. Again, just using the example of dreams, if you grew up with the idea and still subconsciously hold on to the idea that dreams are a waste of time, they are useless, nobody understands them, and they mean nothing, usually, no matter how hard you try to remember your dreams, simply because you hold that belief, you will not be able to remember them. So you have to peel back that layer of yourself that doesn't believe dreams are of any use and cultivate one that believes dreams are inherently beneficial to human beings. So in order to see something, sometimes you have to peel back the part of you that doesn't want to see it or doesn't believe that. Does that make sense to you?
Yes, yes, it does. Thank you.
Now, may we return Joseph to you?
There's another question if Kris feels that Joseph can handle that.
One more.
One more. Christiana, you have the last word.
Thank you. Well, I wanted to ask if you were to have a sermon at the beginning, what would it be?
We would deeply encourage everyone to be aware of what you are thinking at least a few times during the day. Pay attention to your inner dialogue, inner conversations. And whenever you catch yourselves with your hand in the cookie jar of self-doubt and denigration, pull back and examine your sense of self-worth. That which doesn't benefit you, leave it behind. And that which does support you and nurture you, increase it. Very simple, but very important. And
Thank you very
indeed, we
much.
thank you for the question, and we return Joseph to your lovely selves. We thank you for your consideration and kindness.
Thank you, Kris.
Thank you, Kris.
And thank you, Kris and Serge.
Hi, Serge.
Hello. How did it go?
Fabulous. It worked like a dream.
Amazing.
I, I sense a play on words here.
Yeah, a little bit. We were in dream space quite a bit today, which is good.
And Kris was rather humorous, as always, so that's always appreciated.
Cool.
Sparkling says that there was a lot of amazing questions, which also means there were amazing, amazing answers.
I got a lot.
Cool. And most likely also means there's a lot of amazing beings.
Thank you.